I think the main results are that people really want to protect the NHS if at all possible. So most people say that some services should be protected from cuts. We also know that when you look at people in Britain as a whole, they're very divided even over the need to cut public spending in order to pay down the deficit. It's literally a 50-50 split. But when it comes to the NHS, the vast majority of people want to avoid any cuts to it. So that then poses them a difficult question, given that costs are rising very quickly, partly as a result of the changes in the population, but also, of course, because of the medical inflation, which runs ahead of general inflation. Yes, what we're seeing is that with now 5 years of, well, I suppose recession or certainly very low growth in Britain, people are starting to get to acknowledge that the NHS isn't a sort of bottomless pit. And so what we've seen now is a majority of people in this latest survey, nearly 6 out of 10, acknowledging that there have to be limits on NHS spending. There's still 4 out of 10 of us, 39%, who disagree there should be any limits at all on what the NHS does. But to be honest, for both groups of people, they're not, they're not sitting there looking at the actual specifics about what this means. And so when we dig into it, then what we say, well, okay, you want to protect the NHS, you like the current levels of service, what should we do? Do you want to pay more taxes, or should we just go and cut some other services, or perhaps we will have to scale back what the NHS offers? We get nearly half of the population saying, and I would stress saying, that they think taxes should rise in order to keep the NHS providing the sorts of services at the level of service that it does today, and only 11% who want to see it cut in order to maintain taxation at current levels. Well, the NHS is top in all of the polling that we've done, is pretty much top of the list of things that people want protected. And things like aid to the developing world is absolutely top of the list of things people are very happy to see cut. Now, of course, this government has made the decision to carry on spending on the developing world. But it's also said, of course, that the NHS in theory isn't going to suffer any cuts, but of course we're going to make efficiency savings, the like of which the world has never seen before. So the public doesn't want to cut the NHS, they will try and protect it. Whether that's possible politically, of course, is quite another matter. It's all very well the public and opinion polls saying that they support this. In the past, in 1997, we've seen the public saying that they supported a rise in national insurance or taxation to pay for education, but they never voted for the party that was proposing it. On the other hand, in the case of the NHS, people were happier with the NHS after the national insurance rise was announced a decade ago, because they believed it was underfunded and they believed it definitely needed more money. What's happened over the last decade with a massive rise in spending in the NHS up until 2010 pretty much, has been that people's satisfaction with the service is higher than it was in the past. We know that things are better, and so people are less worried about it at the moment. Overall levels of concern about the NHS, despite all of the controversies about reform, remain historically for the last 20 years rather lower than they have been in the past. And that's partly because although it's under huge pressure, those pressures have yet to sort of come through and be seen by lots and lots of patients. When they are, attitudes may shift, but at the moment we're in this sort of uneasy sort of stalemate where actually satisfaction is drifting down, people are anxious about the future, but overall they're still pretty positive about the experience that they're receiving. If that changes, then all sorts of things may happen. There may just be simply blame for the government, and generally governments just get blamed almost whatever they do, and there may be more willingness to pay taxes. But if I was a politician, I would still be very nervous about announcing tax rises to pay for the NHS at the moment.